What's up, everybody? We are live. This is 65 Lokes. I'm here with my guest, Wes Salazar. Everyone, welcome to the podcast. Welcome, Wes.
What's going on, guys? Thank you, Edgar. Appreciate you having me on again, man.
Yeah, so this is episode number 206, Skill Riders Podcast, covering model car culture from around the world. Excited for this one because we got Wes back on the podcast. I got to hang out with him earlier this year. I'm out here and we were hanging out in Northern California. I did get to miss you though when you were out in Southern California.
Yeah.
when you came back. And dude, I want to start things off talking about, the trip out to Northern California and in out west. One of the things that was crazy is I really had no idea you were going to come out to this show. I was surprised. I was like, what? Oh, damn. Like, it wasn't until Instagram when I saw, you posting that you were like basically like on your way. And I was like, dude, like, that's awesome. When was it when you decided like, yo, I got to come out. I got to make that trip?
Oh, this year was actually kind of funny because it was pretty much a last minute decision because I was actually trying to go back and forth between GNRS and Grand National, either one this year. And I was like, I don't know which one I want to do because I know certain people go to one, certain people go to the other. So, be hit or miss who I see. But it was literally probably like 2 weeks before I was talking to Al. I was like, hey, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and do both. So let's plan on, driving up to Northern California to do NNL West again. And, we'll see, because it's not every year that I go to NNL West. It just depends on how things work out,
Yeah. Was it like tough to find tickets though? Like last minute?
Not really. At that time, because I think the Southwest was still kind of coming off of that Christmas fiasco they had. So I think it really wasn't too hard to find tickets. They're actually pretty decent price. So, because for some reason, flying into LA seems to get a lot cheaper, every so often. So that's usually about the time when I try to get tickets to go. And I literally made the reservations for that and for the Grand National show all at the same time. So it was all said and done in one shot.
Man, that's crazy. Yeah, because when I saw that you were out, I was like, dude, that's dope. And I had a feeling that you were going to be out here with Al Camacho because I know you guys have talked about it before. You guys traveling, going together to like the shows. So it wasn't until like you guys that day you guys were ready to head out the Friday, and then I was also like planning out, and then we were texting each other. And I was just like, oh, dope. They're on their way too. And I had to bust a mission that day, man, because I had to wake up early. I had to load up merchandise into the car. And then my daughter was even in the car with me, part of the trip. Like I had to drive her up to my parents' house and drop her off for the weekend. And then my friend who was riding up with me, he also like lives maybe like 10, 15 minutes away from there. So I was like, all right, I'll pick him up. And then now I got two options. I either take the 101 freeway all the way up, or I take the 5, right?
Yeah, I remember that conversation because you were kind of debating on which one to do.
Yeah, dude. Because remember the week before, there was so much rain and there was like closures and there was all this drama going out with the water. And I was just going like, man, like I don't want to go a route that next thing you know, I got to turn back around halfway,
Exactly.
And I was like, dang. But when you told me that you guys were on the 5, no issues, and you guys were like halfway, and you were like, dude, just take the 5. I was like, all right, cool. I got to do it.
Yeah, because that was the crazy thing. Like we got up early. I think we got up at like 7. We were on the road by 7:30. Al lives down in Wilmington, down by the ports down in LA. And so we gave ourselves like 2 hours to get up to the pass. But literally there was for whatever reason, there was hardly any traffic on a Friday that early in the morning for some reason. and we made it up to the pass in like an hour and a half, where we gave ourselves like 2.5 hours. So
Dang.
we were just flying, and that's what we text you. It's like, hey dude, there ain't anything going on, just take the 5, just get up there. And it was a lot quicker route. But I'll tell you what, you did see the effects of the rain with those potholes though.
Yeah, right. No, it's true. Um, I felt like the trip up there this time for me was a bit different because
Mhm.
from previous years when I've gone, um, it always felt like rushed, like quick, like get there, go to the show's done, all right, let's go home. Like
Yep.
it always felt, but this time was different. I don't know if it was maybe because of the planning or what, but I just felt very, even the commute,
Mhm.
chopping it up with my homie on the way up, it didn't even seem like a long drive. And
Uh,
even before, I was like, oh man, that's gonna be like 5, almost 6 hours. That's a long drive. But once we were on the road and we were like heading out and halfway point and then already there, I was like, dude, this wasn't even that bad.
yeah, it was kind of the same way for us too, because we've done as you remember, I think the very first podcast we talked about, Al and I did the day up and day back in the same day trip, and that was hell. But
Yeah.
this time, I mean, we planned it out better. I mean, we've done it a couple other times since then, but you're right. This time just seemed a lot easier, a lot more chill, laid back. I mean, we got up there Friday with like before the pizza night thing, like with 4 or 5 hours to kill. So we were just kind of chilling, driving around, seeing what was around there and stuff. And it was more laid back, like you said, just didn't seem rushed this time, which was really nice actually for a change.
Yeah, and even like once we got to like our hotel checked in and everything, it was like we still had like some hours to just kind of chill and kill it too. So we were like, all
Mhm.
right, let's just head over there because I mean it starts. Was it at 8 or 7 when it started? I can't
I
remember
think
right
it
now.
was seven. I think it was seven.
Oh yeah,
Seven,
yeah, yeah.
7:30, something like that.
It was early, and I was like, let's just go, and it was cool because a lot of people were there like at that time when
Hmm.
to set up. And I mean, it wasn't as packed as that first time that was done, before the pandemic.
Right,
But
right.
it was still kind of cool though, like everyone getting together and hanging out. You were able to see the cars up front. Like there was like that room there for that. And then just it's like props to Alex for doing this because
For
it, it
sure.
it adds to the trip, of instead of just going to NNL and then that's it. It's like, no, you got something else to look forward to as well, like the night
Well,
before.
exactly, and that too, and it's a small, like you said, it's at a pizza place, so it's a smaller environment. You can talk to people easier, kind of just chop it up with everybody, have some grub while you're there and a couple beers or whatever you want, and it's like, like you said, get to see everything up close, take take good photographs, and then just kind of just find out more about the builds and stuff with people because you can talk to everybody a lot easier. You don't feel rushed like at a show. Like there's no vendors to go look around at or anything like that.
No, yeah, it's true. And there was a couple friends of mine that came out also like to hang out, and that was nice. They
Hmm.
were planning on going to NNL, but even just being able to have another day to kick it with them was
Oh
like
yeah.
was pretty dope. And even I felt comfortable because it, like you said, it wasn't like a setting where it's like I'm bending either,
Hmm.
like I'm just hanging out. Like there, I was able to like take photographs and ask questions about stuff. So it was
Right.
like, really neat. And then congratulations too, man. You ended up taking that night with the award. Can you show us
Yeah.
the award you
I
got?
figured you might bring that up, so I brought it over here, put it off to the side. But yeah, hopefully this shows up good on camera. The Slice of the West Best of Show for the Nissan Z. Uh, I was really really surprised because there was a lot of good stuff there that people brought out, and Alex came over at the end of the night and said, "Hey, congrats, man! You got this for the Z." I'm like, "Okay, sweet." And it's pretty cool, man, because it's a one of a kind, handmade and hand painted trophy, so it's pretty badass.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's definitely like a memory piece right there that you'll always have, especially with like all the different awards that you've gotten through the years, but you have this one here that's like a special one right
Oh
there.
yeah, for sure. That's obviously there's no other. I don't have any other award like it, and it's pretty cool, man. It's just it's got a special spot in the not in the room here, but in the hallway with a lot of the other awards. So
Yeah.
it's pretty cool, man. It's I was very honored to get it, and it's just like I've said before, any award I'm always honored, and a lot of the times surprised, to be honest with you. So
Yeah, and tell us about the Nissan Z. I mean, that was one of the newest models, like well, latest releases from Tamiya that had just came out, and you managed to, get your copy and start working on it right away. Um,
yeah.
how was it from that period, like when you got it up to that point of like, hey, I'm gonna get this done to bring it out to California?
Honestly, even before I actually got my hands on it, I already had the idea to do it. When I saw they were gonna issue it, I kind of did the same thing when they came out with the GR Supra back in 2018, 2019. I saw that kit and I'm like, I got to do it. I got to do it up the way that I would. And then with the Z, it was the same thing. Okay, I got to get this done. And when I wasn't at that time, I wasn't sure if I was going to go to NNOS, but I'm like, I did it with the Supra and I brought it out to 2019, 2018, 2019 NNL West, and it was the only one on the table of the brand new release of the kit. So I'm like, I got to do the same thing with the Z. And sure enough, somehow I got it done, I think, in like 3 weeks, even with doing all the modifications to it. And it was the only one at the table there at NNL West again. So it was kind of cool. And there's something that stands out, but I added a lot more stuff to it than I originally planned, just to make it stand out and make it unique, But it was pretty cool. I just like I said, I had the idea before it even came out, and unfortunately now I need to get like two or three more because people are starting to release wide body kits for them. But it was kind of cool to put my own little flair on it before a lot of other people started to.
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting right there. Busting out with it and just it's almost like you're creating your like tradition sort of like getting like the newest release and bringing it
Mm-hmm.
out to a show right there. And I mean, obviously it adds pressure. Did you feel that pressure? Like, dude, I got to get this done.
Oh yeah, there was a lot of pressure, especially in the last week and a half leading up to NNL West, because not like to me, kits I never have any problems with whatsoever, or at least not any major ones. But especially though, if you're trying to get it done for a deadline, it always just seems to add that little bit more pressure to it. And even if it's a kit that goes together flawlessly, you're still finding yourself like, oh man, I got to tweak this, I got to do this. Oh wait, that's not sitting right. And especially because I did the stance look on it, which I'll show it here in a little bit, but with the camber wheels, which is the same thing I did with the Supra, and that took about an hour and a half, 2 hours to get the wheels to sit flat. Which I know a lot of people that see this, they're gonna crack jokes because they say I can't put wheels on straight on imports, but it's I did the camber look and it looks clean, but it took a while to get it to sit flat, and the whole time I'm like, dude, I'm running out of time here. It shouldn't take this long. But it's all good. It got done. So
Yeah, do you ever have run into this issue where like when you're doing the mock-up process where the centers of the wheels you haven't even
mhm.
put them yet onto the ring, but you're trying to see how you're gonna mock this up and it keeps falling out or just
Oh yeah.
loosen and like when I started getting into it doing that, I started to think like, man, am I the only one? Because I would see people's posts on Instagram and everything looks clean and like put together. And I'm like,
Hmm.
how they like I don't see tape. Like, what are they using? Or are they really gluing it and then popping it off? And then I started asking people and they were like, oh no, I have that problem sometimes. So I was
Hmm.
wondering if you had that happen to you too.
Oh yeah, quite a bit. I mean, I try to mock up stuff, all the time, all the way to wheels and like certain other pieces, motor pieces, all that. And a lot of times I'll try to use tape. It doesn't work out as well. Um, I have this other stuff called like blue tack. It's supposed to be like poster board. It's almost like it's not silly putty, but it's like a tacky blue like clay like thing that actually holds parts together. So every now and then I'll put like a little piece of that on the back of something to hold it. But the wheels, it's almost indefinitely. They always end up seem like they fall apart, before you try to glue them together. So it's kind of a pain.
Yeah, can you show us the Nissan Z? We want to check that out.
Yeah, let's see here. Try to figure out the best lighting here. See if I can flip this around real quick. There's a good shot of the kits and stuff in the background there. Let's see. All right, so here we go. So yeah, this is the Tamiya Nissan Z 400Z if you want to be correct with it, but the carbon fiber roof edition, carbon fiber gauge pods. I don't know if it's going to show up in the lighting, but the front lips carbon fiber, and then the back right here is another carbon fiber piece with the anodized exhaust tips. And then you can see the stance there, the wheels cambered, 20-inch BBS wheels all the way around. And the color is it's a Mercedes green, custom mixed by Splash Paints. And luckily I got that to him in time, because that was another deadline, trying to get the color in time for the show. But it's got air ride. You can kind of see through the window in the back there with the air tank and compressors. Deleted pretty much any chrome or any type of polished surface. Everything was either bronze painted or aluminum. The wheels are BBS gold from Splash as well. And then the interior, it's kind of hard to see the interior, but one thing I will say, anybody who's looking to build this kit, it is probably the most detailed and separate piece interior I've ever done. The dashboard is like 7 or 8 pieces. Each seat's 4 pieces. The door panels are 5, 6 different pieces. So it makes it easy to paint, but it's also just makes it a little more challenging to put together. But let's see, the lighting's not the greatest, but yeah, that's pretty much it right there. So it was a fun kit to do. I enjoyed it. Another shot there of the carbon fiber roof. That's Scale Motorsports bronze carbon fiber, not the clear and put over paint. That's actually bronze. So it's pretty cool, man. Like I said, it was a fun build, and I enjoyed doing it.
Man, that's dope, dude. I just it looked good too, like the lighting, so it wasn't that bad. We really got to see, especially what you were showing on the back window, like the pump setup and all that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I remember the night of the gathering. You were telling me about it. We were checking that out, and it's so neat that you added that in there. You were saying, man, sometimes things like this you don't get to see them. But once you start looking in there more, it's just like it adds more to the car. Like, damn, he went all out on that part.
Oh yeah, it's a little. I guess you want to call them like hidden Easter eggs and stuff like that. That's cool. I try to add something like that to every build that I do. And like I said, I wish you could see the interior more, because I did a lot of painting on that, like separate panel pieces, and there's the green is incorporated in the seats and in the dashboard and the door panels and all that, but it's hard to see, just because it's such a small car, and then all the windows are enclosed or on there as well. So, but it's a fantastic kit though, man. To go together, it's just, I had a blast doing it. And like I said, I'm probably gonna end up with about 2 or 3 more to try out the different wide bodies for it. So
damn, that's gonna be crazy, that lineup. I could already imagine it.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, and then the carbon fiber, the color, the choice, everything just flows really good. Uh,
thanks, man.
one of the interesting things that I saw, and then you also mentioned, was just the separation of some of the parts, like the seats.
Hmm.
Like all that pretty much helps, especially it saves you like the time for backmasking and all that, right? For separation of colors
Oh
um
yeah,
during the build.
yeah. It definitely made it a lot easier to paint. Um, it half the time for what it was, which when you're doing something for a short period of time like that, it helps out quite a bit because, like you said, no masking, nothing like that. For those that want to check out, I do have interior pictures as I was building it. They're on my Instagram page. You can go back and check them out because I did take detailed photos of the interior before it all got put together.
Right on, man. And how were you feeling after after the pizza night? Like, were you now more excited? Were you more pumped for the NNL West the following day?
Oh yeah, that I think just added more to it. Just kind of like, oh shoot, like, all right, cool. Let's I think we got back to the hotel after the pizza night. I think I got maybe 3 4 hours sleep,
Yeah.
but which for me that's usually enough. But yeah, my mind was just racing and stuff, and if just kind of on a little bit of a high for that. But it definitely added to the anticipation factor for the next day for sure.
Yeah. Because like not only did you bring one car, you brought another car you busted out with.
Yeah, I did. I brought out another highly anticipated one, the collaboration build between me and Splash Paints for the Harley Quinn F-150 or
Yeah,
F-100.
the
Excuse
Harley
me.
Quinn. Yep.
Yes, yeah, that was a trip, man, because that was another one that was actually it should have been done back because Sam and I had talked about going to the Acme NNL in Atlanta back in November with it. And unfortunately, he wasn't able to come out with that for that one. And I kind of missed the deadline with that. So that was actually one of the deciding factors with me coming up to NNL West was I can get this truck done in that time. Sam's going to be there. And what better way to debut it and have him see it in person? Because I have the truck ultimately at the end of the day, but I wanted him to see it in person and get the feel for it. And that truck got a big response from a lot of people that I was not expecting because it's one of those things that those that know it's the paint scheme is based off of a 80s Volkswagen Golf and it's multicolored, four different colors. And Sam came out with that line for splash paints. It's a set, all four colors, and he hit me up and said, "Hey, I want to do this. I want to showcase this set, but I don't want to do the traditional Volkswagen Golf." And I said, "Okay, what do you want to do?" And we threw back a couple ideas back and forth at each other, and ultimately he came up. He's like, "Well, why don't we do the Foose F100 kit, the 56, I think it is, and or 53, whatever." But he my initial response was something I'm not going to say here on live on YouTube, but because those that know that truck has so many curves, so many different panels, and as I'll show here in just a few minutes, that the masking alone was probably the longest part of that build because every panel of the truck is a different color.
Dang, dude, yeah, I mean, it looks crazy. Like, sometimes I go back on my photographs I took of it, and I just trip out, on the colors. Like every
Mm-hmm.
color is just like it comes at you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just already thinking, like, dude, like I don't know how this dude did it. Like, how do you decide this panel's gonna go this color, that panel's gonna go that color?
Oh man,
Fenders, like,
dude, that was a process. First of all, let me say thank you to you for letting me display it at your booth at the show because that was pretty awesome as well. You
nah,
know,
thanks, man. Nah, it was
yeah.
cool. Like, yeah, there was a lot of people that cruise by and they were giving compliments, like just, looking at
Mhm.
it and looking at everything else. But that was like a side on the table where they were just hanging out and like looking at it. Like,
Yeah, yeah, and that was the coolest thing, man. Like I said, seeing the reactions, because the amount of time that went into planning that, like we were talking about, it took, I think, let's see, 1 or 2 nights. I actually sat and actually wrote down on every, again, this is on my Instagram page, but on every panel of the truck, I wrote down what color I wanted to be, took photographs of that. So when I started masking it, I could go back to those photos and reference, okay, this panel is going to be this color, this one's this color. And that way I didn't end up painting something that was going to be the same color, or,
yeah,
because trust me, when you're doing something like that, you have to make sure you're on point with it, because otherwise I actually ended up having to redo the bed of the truck.
damn,
Um, and actually ended up having to get another bed because I didn't want to sand and redo
start over.
everything I had done, because
Mm.
and I actually got the funny thing is I actually have the other bed sitting over here right now, because I'm trying to figure out what I want to do with it. Probably
Yeah,
just end up
yeah.
repainting it, but
You had to dig back into the catalog and bust out another one.
oh my god, trying to find those kits is insane.
Yeah,
And let me rephrase that. Trying to find one's insane. Trying to find one for a decent price is even more insane.
even more. It's a
You
trip
know.
because I mean, it's like when they come out, you see them everywhere, right? Like back
Hmm.
then, like cool, when you see them, and you're like, whatever. Already got the ones in my stash. I don't need more. And then next thing you know, you're like, oh damn, what happened to those cars? And then
Right.
they start going up in that secondary market, and you're like, dude, like it's almost like at some point you have to buy extras to get to a point where now you just have to trade with a friend, like
Exactly.
let's just
Yeah,
trade at this point.
and that's the crazy thing, because I know I try to get at least 2 or 3 of a new kit when it gets issued or reissued, in a sense, sometimes. But yeah, that secondary market right now is just it's insane. I actually just got a package today from eBay, as much as I hate to admit it, of a sealed Revell 63 Impala that I actually managed to get for like $35 total.
Damn.
So
Really? That's dope. That's crazy, dude. I used to
yeah,
see the
steel.
63s back then at Michael's all the time. And
Mm-hmm.
and every time I would go in there, I would just, get one, get one, get one. And I had so many of them. And then eventually I was just like either trading friends or someone would be like, oh, I need one, or I have one.
Mm-hmm.
And then later, like, everyone has one and it almost became kind of like whatever, sort of. But I was like, dude, it's a 63. Come on. Like,
Right.
I always wanted a 63 back in the day and I could never get one. Now I have a bunch of them. And
Exactly.
and then I finally, like, I built a couple of them back then. And then I remember Joe, Altered Works, started to
Mm-hmm.
say, yo, they're not going to come out with them. So if you see them, buy them because they're done. And like, who
Yep.
knows when they're gonna redo them or what. And he was right, man. I didn't see him anymore.
The same thing with it was the 63s and then the 64s.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. If I try to find those for a decent price, and yeah, it's hard to anymore. I mean, I have plenty, don't get me wrong, but the 63 is one of my favorites, and the 64 kit just builds up very well, in my opinion. So I love doing them, and it's like, no, I got to get more. But you got people asking 60, $70 for those kits. I'm like, I never thought I'd see that, you know. But I guess I'm sitting on a gold mine for whenever I decide to either liquidate everything or retire, one of the two.
Yeah,
you know.
dude, for real. That's crazy. Let's take a look at the Harley Quinn.
Yeah, let me set it up here first, because so let's see. Let's go back to the clip here. So yeah, here is the Harley Quinn F100. So pretty much, like I said, everything here, every panel has been painted a different color. And these colors are very, very, very accurate to what the real ones are. So shout out to Sam for creating getting the formula right for everything for them because they look awesome. And then let's see the back here. So, and I don't know how well the interior is going to show, but even the interior is everything's a different color. So the dashboard, the steering wheel, steering column, all the way to the seat inserts actually have a different color. And then see if I move it here, take the hood off. Even went as far as to do the entire engine bay and the engine. Every single piece of the engine's a different color. So there is some aluminum stuff thrown in there, you know, the pulleys, the air cleaner, some photo etch, wiring, and then the interiors. I didn't want to make it look all the different colors, so I ended up doing a little bit of black in there too, just to kind of break it up. Same thing with the door handles and stuff; they're aluminum, just to break up the monotony of it. There's a shot of the underside of the truck. So aluminum frame. The wheels are by Z-Force Max on Instagram. Shout out to Ryan for those because they're pretty badass. And it was cool because trying to find the right set of wheels for this truck to actually to paint all different colors was actually kind of difficult. So to have some big and little dogdish or steely wheels like this actually worked out perfectly for it, and really came out clean. I actually had intentions of putting the Ford hubcap on the center of the wheels, but it actually looked too clunky when I did it, so I decided to leave that off. But then there's the reflection shine, as everybody likes to see when I post. But yeah, overall, man, this came out awesome. Would I say I would do this again? Maybe not. Or if I did,
Yeah.
or if I do it again, it'll be on something with a lot flatter panels.
Yeah.
But
dang. Yeah, dude. It looks like a lot of work, man. It looks dope. You know, you were talking about the shine, man. And that is something that I always like admire and I like to see when you show the cars like the reflection. And tell us that process. Like when you shoot your clear and you're getting down to, all right, we need to polish this or get it to shine at that point. Because I know a lot of people want their cars to have the shine, but they might be a little hesitant or maybe they don't know like what to do to at least try to get it as close in getting started.
Yeah, and the thing is nothing's ever going to be perfect. I mean, even my stuff's not, 100% flawless, if you will, even though people want to argue and say it is. But no, the process after the last coat of clear, basically it's let it cure. Depending on what clear you're using, 24 hours, 48 hours, depending on if it's rattle can, if it's urethane. If it's urethane, it's usually good to go in about 24, 48 hours to start polishing. Then, of course, too, if you have something that you can actually cure it in, like a dehydrator or something that actually speeds up the process, then that also helps. But once the last coat of clear goes on, it's basically a wet sand from. I start with 4,000. A lot of people start with like 3,200. But I usually start 4,000 because unless I have some like real heavy dust or something in the paint, which happens, but not as bad as a lot of. It's usually just real small stuff that 4,000 grit can get out. I'll go from 4,000, 6,000, 8, and all the way up to 12,000. Knock the shine down, which is what you want, so you're getting rid of the imperfections in the paint and the clear. Dull the whole surface. By the time you get back to 12,000 grit, the shine should start coming back. You'll have a little bit of swirl marks in it, but then that's where the compound takes those out. The polish takes the remaining stuff out. And then ultimately, if you want to put a wax on the car, you can. It doesn't actually help with the shine. It's just more of a protectant, basically. But it's in that process with the compound and the polish is where it makes the difference, because a lot of people think that you can put on one or two applications of compound and polish and it'll magically make everything go away. Not the case. Honestly, on my stuff, I do a minimum of 4 to 5 applications of each one, and that's by hand, getting it to really work it into the surface to get those scratches out, get those swirl marks out. And ultimately, usually that's about the amount of time it takes, or amount of applications it takes to get that out. And by the time that's done, usually you see the results that I post. And like I said, it just takes the time. You have to know what you're working with, and you kind of have to come up with your own process. Like as I've always said before, I can lay the building blocks for you, but ultimately you have to find your own way of making your own process, making it work for you, and that's ultimately what it comes down to, because anybody can get the results that I do, but it's just I've just perfected it over the last 20 years, so, and
Yeah.
then painting one-to-one stuff too also helps. So
Yeah, dang. How long has it been now since you've been doing that? I know we've talked about it in the past, but I mean, time is flying by. I always wondered like how long you've been doing that now for.
this August will be 3 years
Oh,
now.
damn. Yeah.
So I'm still relatively new to it, but
Mhm.
it's like for example, I mean, we were talking about earlier before we went on here that I've been in the booth all week this week so far, and it's it takes a lot out of you, man, when you're going back and forth. It's almost a nonstop process. So,
Yeah.
but no, it's been almost 3 years, and it's been going great. I got no complaints, and I'm enjoying every bit of it, man. Doesn't really feel like a job to me.
Yeah.
So,
I remember my homie he has like his shop where he paints and he fixes cars, and
mhm.
I remember hanging out with them, and he would be like, all right, we're gonna do a clear coat session on this car or this door or whatever, right? And then he'd have the booth set up and I'd be in there with him or whatever, like he'd do it up, and then after we would hang out like chilling, and then I'd be like, all right, man, I'm gonna take off, later on, da da da. And then he'd be like, hey, before you go to sleep, he's all, make sure you drink a glass of milk. And I'm like, a glass of milk? Why? He's like, oh, it's because like we're clear coating, and I don't know if it was because it was I can't remember if it was urethane or we're using the PPG, the water base
hmm
clear, but he was just like, yeah, you want to get the clear out of your system. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he's like, no, yeah, for real. And I'm like, all right. And then I did go home and I drank a glass of milk, but I don't know. I don't know if that's true or it's just a myth.
I I think it depends on how, if you're doing it every day, I could see that,
Mhm.
um like if you're clear coating every day, because I've noticed at the end of the day, this, as funny as it sounds, that urethane clear actually works very well as if it dries in your hair, it works like a hairspray almost, and it as funny as that sounds, but it at the end of the day, I think it's just a matter of how often you're doing it. So like for us, we have 7 or 8 different people that can paint, and we rotate out every week basically. So we're only in there for a week at a time, but you even using all the respirators and stuff like that, you can still kind of get some intake. So I could see where that would be true, but I've never heard of it though. You
Yeah.
know.
No, yeah, it's crazy because even just like airbrushing, clear coating, like I'll put on a 3M mask,
hmm
and even if I tighten everything, the back and then the front, I could
hmm
still get a little bit of like the smell in there,
hmm
right? And I remember thinking to myself, like, oh, maybe I need to like shave my beard or something so I can have it like sealed tight. But
Right.
I'm like, nah, I'm only cleaning for a little bit. I don't want to do that, like
Well,
shave like my face for that.
and that's the funny thing, because I mean I'm one to talk right here, but it does help with that, but at the
Mm,
end of the day, I mean, even if you're clean shaven and it's sealed, you're still going to get a little bit of that effect of it,
yeah,
So,
do that.
but yeah, to anybody out there that uses that stuff, dude, please make sure you're using a respirator, because especially if you're using urethane, because it is pretty potent stuff.
Oh yeah, man, it is. And I want to give out some shout outs to some of the viewers right now. Let me see. I'm
Yeah.
gonna scroll in here because in the chat room I see Northwind Customs,
What's
Ryan,
up, bro?
Scale Model Cars, Slowly Models all the way in Australia.
Yo, what's up, man?
We also got D Block, Ty all the way from Guam.
Wow. Okay.
And then also shout outs to Bobblehead Scale Rod Shop.
What's up, Bill?
And then Al Camacho as well. I see he's on here too.
Hey, I appreciate y'all tuning in, man.
Yeah, yeah. So like we're live right now, but also this recording is going to be coming up as the newest episode on the podcast. So if you guys listen to the podcast regularly, just to the audio through the Apple Podcast, and Spotify, please look at the description of this video because there will be a link on there so you can go back and see this video because Wes is showing us some of his builds as well. So this way you can get a visual. But for you guys that are tuned in, what's up? And if you guys have any questions for Wes, if you guys want to note them there on the chat, and then I'll read them off to him at some point during this recording. And let's see here. So after the NNL West show, when you came back down, did you just fly back home, or were you here for? Because I want to get to the Grand National Roadster show, but
Mhm.
you were only here for a small period of time, right? In that trip.
Yeah, the so for NNL West, we drove back down Saturday night. Got home again. Seemed to be a pretty quick drive. We got back home about 10:30 at night, 11, which is actually a pretty good time. But and then yeah, I literally turned around next morning and had a flight out at like 7 o'clock in the morning, and was back home for a week. And then the following 2 weeks, I think it was, between NNO West and Grand National this year. So a week and a half I was back home, and then flew back out for Grand National a week and a half later.
Dang, dude, I wanted to go so bad to the Grand National Roadster show, and I almost thought I was gonna go because look, I remember you came down and I hit you up, and I'm like, yo, when's the model show? And
Mm,
because I was on a Saturday when I hit you up, and you were like, you told me like, oh, I'm gonna go there for a little bit, but tomorrow is the actual thing. I'm gonna be there all day. And I
mm-hmm.
was like, damn, because that Saturday I had it to myself, like, you know,
Ah,
like I could just, I could have been there the whole day too, but
right, right.
my thing was I wanted to go to the model show. I wanted to get coverage. I wanted to hang out and everything. But then when you were like, nah, dude, like today's kind of like a chill kind of day for it. And then
Mm-hmm.
I saw some photos and I only saw like a couple cars. So I was thinking like, nah, I remember back then. It is on a Sunday. It is the last day when
Yep.
everybody comes out and brings out their cars, displays them and everything. And I'm like, dude, that's like a fun day right there to want to
Oh yeah.
go. But the Sunday I was already busy. Like I already had family plans and everything. And I was like, dude, I'm not gonna be able to make it. And
Yeah.
and that's when I was like, damn. So I wasn't able to get any coverage at all. I was bummed out about that, but I was able to at least see what you guys were posting up later.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, I try to take photos of everything. I mean, usually whether it's 70 models or 600 models, I try to take a photo of everything and try to post it up there. But yeah, usually so the way that operation works with that model show, Rusty Price, who I know you met in the past, he's the one that hosts that show. And usually Al and myself will come out. We'll make, literally, that's the Grand National show. When I come out for that, That's literally the whole weekend from Friday all the way to Sunday. I mean, so Friday we were there all day, kind of helping Rusty set up. Um, Nobody really shows up with the models on Friday because they don't want to leave their stuff there for 2 days. But we're there. We help them set up. Plus, we can take photos of all the cars, all the one-to-one cars that are there. For those of you that don't know, that the Grand National Roadster Show is a one-to-one car show with probably about 2,000 to 2,500 cars. They have all the indoor buildings at the Pomona Fairgrounds full, and then on Saturday they also have all the local guys come out and display all their cars on the outside perimeter of the showgrounds, and it's a really, really cool show. I mean, just for that alone. But they also, with the model show, yeah, some people bring stuff Saturday. Rusty will give them a pass to come back in Sunday. And then, but for those that just want to make it a one-day thing, come out Sunday, registrations until noon, and then enter your cars, and you walk around while they're doing the judging, look at some real cars, and come back for the awards at the end of the day.
Man, that sounds dope. Man, that's pretty cool that Rusty was nice enough to hook you guys up with like passes too, like for like the extra days. Because yeah, every day is like a fee, right? And or a package you could get for the whole weekend.
Pretty much, except for parking. Parking you have to pay for every time, no matter what. Which I don't know why, but but no, with the tickets, yeah, you can either buy a 1-day pass, you can buy a 3-day pass. Or, like I said, if you come out Saturday for the model show, Rusty will actually give you a pass to get another ticket to come back in Sunday. The only thing you have to pay for is parking. Mm-hmm. So there's no entry fee for the model show. Plus, you get an extra day ticket to come back. So it's kind of worth it to go on Saturday. It's just lately a lot of people have just been coming Sunday for it. But,
yeah.
Either way, I mean, it's a lot. The overall show is a lot to take in one day. I mean, there's so much stuff there. So that's why we usually try to make it for the whole weekend, because you can take your time, look at everything, get a lot of good reference photos for stuff. Mm-hmm. And it's a variety of cars. I mean, you have everything from customs to, trucks to hot rods to muscle cars, whatever your interest is, there's something there for you.
Yeah, was there more of a presence more in lowriders now? Because I know there's been some, but like I remember the first time I only saw like a few cars, but then little by little I started seeing more and more cars being added onto the floor. The one-to-one scale
for the one-to-ones.
Yeah.
This year there was basically one building that had almost 3/4 of nothing but lowriders.
Dang.
And most of them were lifestyle, of course. And then the other one, what was the other club? It's been so long since I've been there, I don't remember all the clubs that are around anymore. But I forget. There was one other club that had a good presence there too. But lifestyle took up a good row and a half of cars.
Damn.
Yeah, and they brought out some new stuff that I'd never seen before, and a lot of the older stuff. But
yeah,
there was a couple 73 Caprices that I'd never seen before.
Yeah, damn.
And they were pretty cool. Flaked out, patterned out,
Mm-hmm.
And so I think the presence is starting to come back around with them at the show. I mean, there was also a lot of other like individuals with low riders kind of spread out throughout the whole area on Saturday.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's starting to come back a little bit more now.
Yeah, but yeah, that is a good show though, to see all the different styles of cars and get inspired, because I remember in the past going and seeing like that big room where all the vendors are kind of set up, like giving out pamphlets and things of their companies, and just seeing some cars where they're pretty much gutted and all you see is the engine or the interior, and you're seeing all this like framework and just different things that they're doing to these cars that's like new and innovative,
right?
And I could see how like you could just get in there and photograph like crazy.
And that's the cool thing is they're not like, no, don't take any photos. I mean, they let you basically walk all over the damn thing and, take as many photos and up close stuff as you want. And the cool thing is too, is the following year, whatever that chassis was and chassis and motor will actually be a finished product usually the following year. So it's pretty cool to see that the transformation from nothing to full build at the end of the day.
Man, did you get any awards for this show?
Yeah,
For your builds?
not too bad. 2 firsts, 2 seconds, and or no, 2 firsts, 3 seconds, and a third.
Oh, dope, man. Which cars did you end up bringing for this one?
So there was basically everything that I brought for NNL West, because I actually ended up leaving them at Al's house instead of bringing them back and then 2 weeks later having to travel again. But I did bring out one other one that I had almost finished for NNL West, but I decided to kind of call it at the end of the day. But I brought out a 41 Willis street rod for the Grand National Show as well, and that was a big hit. Again, because of the color and the overall style of it, but that took home a first place, and then the Purple 58 Impala took home lowrider first place. So,
man, that's dope. I want to bring up a question here that I just noticed Al posted. He wants to know any model that you built, would you want to build again, and if so, would you add more detail to it? Like if you could just, pretty much like revisit one of like a classic build, like something that you had fun with. And now at the level that you're at, now knowing what you know, which one is the one that you would go back and redo?
Oh man, that's
add some detail.
Right. That's a tough question, man. Because there's a couple that I would actually like to revisit. So one of them is actually the 70 Impala, the old AMT one, because that one's kicked my butt every single time I've tried to build one. And I built one as a curbside last year, and I'd like to go back and do one as a full detail build, lowrider, with a full engine detail, full, setup, pump setup, all that. What was the other one? I was trying to remember. There's another one. I can't remember exactly what it is off the top of my head, but I think no, it was the 56 Nomad is another one. So I did that. I don't know if you remember the red and bronze one I did a few years ago. It was a full street rod or hot rod build, street machine build, and that one had a little issues with going together and stuff like that. And the detail was there, but at the end of the day, I would have liked to have added a little bit more and kind of even upgraded from what I did to that. So, but I think that's honestly, it's kind of an open-ended question, because there's every build you do, you want to try to up your game, and you always think you can do a little bit more. And then by the time you call it quits, it's like, yeah, I'll just do another one at some point.
Yeah. I remember you showed me this case where you have all these builds on display, and you even have some collection pieces that you've purchased from other artists, other modelers. Do you keep that there in that room, or is it kept somewhere else?
No, that's actually those cases are actually in the hallway.
Okay.
I pretty much maxed out the space in this room.
Yeah, give us a little tour of the room.
Oh man, let's see. I try to keep it off the floor because the floor is a mess right now with everything. But let's see. Let me flip it around here. So that's the collection. We got some posters, some pictures up there, some dedicated magazine photos from the magazine. That's my little photo booth area right there, where I take a lot of the photos. So yeah, it's nothing fancy. Got the television there. Let's see, the stash, collection of kits. None of these are for sale, just getting that out there. And then this is just some of the awards that I have posted up in this room. And then a lot of the other awards are out out in the hallway. We got a Scaled by Snacks' Lambo up there. A drawing from Armando Avila, and then just like I said, just some other stuff. So a few of my bikes that I built there, and then overall, it's the workbench setup. Don't mind the mess, but I think that's everybody right now. So, but yeah, the cases that I have out in the hallway, they're from Carney display case or display plastics company, and they're awesome. They hold 24 cars a piece. They have a mirror backing on them. They close, so they're essentially dust free. But I have 2 of those in the hallway that I do have photos on Instagram, and I can send you some more photos too, Edgar, if you want. But I'm actually working on making basically a whole wall of those display cases, because I have enough models built that I could fill up probably another 2 or 3 of those. So the next one I want to put up is actually going to be, you're mentioning the builds from other artists. I actually want to make that a case just specifically for those builds, since I've started collecting quite a few from a few different people over the last couple of years. Most recent ones being from David Garcia, who does all the bombs out in California. And then Al Camacho, gratefully gave me one of his builds as well to add to the collection. So it's starting to grow.
Man, that's dope. It's a trip, like when you get like, someone else's model, and I know that it's different from going to a show and you see the model, so you owning one where you just stare at it and you go, man, like, look at what they did. You appreciate what they did. But at the same time, it's like they're adding their it's almost like a part of their soul is in this car,
Exactly.
Like you see it and you go, dude, like he made this, like he spent hours making this, It's crazy. Like that's an original piece right there.
Oh yeah, and it's the ones that I've gotten that I've either purchased or people were gracious enough to give them to me. I never asked for anything. I'm always willing to pay for them, because I know, me being a builder and an artist myself, I know what goes into these cars. So you can never really put a price on them. But at the end of the day, it's like, I never ask for anything for free, because I know people have their heart, like you said, heart and soul into this stuff. But there's certain ones that people build that they just like, it's like, it captures me, and it's like, damn, that I know I can build that, but to have something from them. So like, for example, David's, the one I got from David Garcia, the 47, the green 47 convertible fleet line. I don't know if you remember that one or not. That's the one I picked up from him, because that car just, wow. Oh, the overall build, the overall style, detail, everything he put into it, opening doors, opening trunk. It's an awesome build, and when I saw it 2 years ago at Grand National, it spoke to me, and I asked him, I said, hey, what do you want for it, man? He was a little hesitant at first to sell it, but I made him an offer he couldn't really pass up. So
Damn, that's dope, man. That's cool. Nah, it's crazy, because we like our cars, and we want to keep them and everything, because we're happy and we're proud of them, and all this time we gave in. But I always feel like at some point, when we reach that point of, all right, it's time to like pass it on, like somebody else admires it even more, that other person for sure is going to enjoy it a lot more.
Oh yeah. And the thing is too, is I've sold a couple of my builds in the past. There's a couple I have in my collection that I won't get rid of, whether it's sentimental value, whether it's, I built it for a specific reason, but I'm the same way. If the worst somebody can say, or worst I could say is no. you know, but you never know until you try, or at least you ask, you
Mhm.
know.
Yeah.
And so in some cases it's kind of funny because the car that I got from Al was that red 65 Impala that he built a long time ago, and has
Mhm.
actually kicked my ass at a couple shows, believe it or not, in the lowrider class. And now
Yeah.
he decided to retire it and give it to me. So
Oh, nice.
it's kind of like it's cool because it's like I remember that build, but then it's also, oh yeah, that's right, that build beat me out this year. It's like, it's just kind of funny because a lot of memories with it too,
Yeah. Oh, that's
So,
cool. I have a question from the chat room. This is coming from Jake. He wants to know how long does it take you to build a model?
ooh, another good question. Really just depends on what I'm doing with the model. So I can knock out a build probably in about 2 weeks if I don't really add a whole lot of detail stuff to it. If I just paint, build, put it together. But usually I don't have that amount of time anyway, since work keeps me so busy. Not like I used to, where I could build almost every day for like 5-6 hours a day. I'm lucky if I get maybe 2 hours a day now. Usually most of my time's on the weekends. The average time for me right now is probably about 2 to 3 months, honestly, to get a one done from start to finish.
Man, that's pretty fast actually. That's like a good amount of time. I mean, I don't
Yeah,
know, like it takes me longer now. It feels like 6 months or more.
well, and don't get me wrong, man. I have some cars sitting over here to my left that they've been in the works for the last 2 years. It's just you get to a point where you either get burned out on it, or you have that last, like I have a Cadillac 80s Cadillac lowrider sitting here in a box. All I have to do is the hydraulic setup. And
Mhm.
that's the only thing I have left to do. That's been sitting in the box for 7 months.
Dang. Is
So because then you go through the process, you see something else you want to build, or you get an idea. Next thing you know, you're mocking up 5 or 6 other cars.
yeah, hell yeah.
So whether it's intentional or not, sometimes what you have working, it gets kind of pushed to the back a little bit. So,
Yeah.
um, or like for example, for another show coming up here soon, I'm building I think I put it on Instagram a couple weeks ago, that 76 Caprice that
Mhm.
I'm working on. That one kind of took the forefront because I'm building that for a show coming up here soon too. So
Yeah. You know how like I mean I feel like we always find hobbies within the hobby. Like
mm-hmm,
you could have some modelers who maybe don't have the time to build, but they have the time to collect the kits.
mm-hmm.
And part of like being part of the community, I guess is kind of showing the stash, right? Like,
Oh
oh,
yeah.
check out my stuff. Do you think um I don't know if anybody said it, but I've always wondered now is like maybe if mocking up is a thing, like
Oh yeah.
just like that's all I do. All I do is I enjoy mocking up my cars, primering them, and that's it. And then I open
Mm-hmm.
up a new one and I do all that. And next thing you know, you have like 10 of them or more, and they're all mocked up. And you're like, dude, this is dope. And then you put them away. And then you just do another one, and they're like, yo, when you gonna finish your build? Nah, man, like this is my thing.
I know a couple individuals like that actually. um, that all most of the time it's like, yeah, it's either primer or not primer or mocked up. Oh yeah, I'm gonna do this, and this. Hey, what happened to that build like 6 weeks ago? You were working on. Oh, I started this. I started that. What the? Come on, man. Finish at least get it to a halfway point before you start doing something else. But
Yeah, yeah,
again, I mean, I'm one to talk because, like I said, I got about 5 or 6, actually more projects than that's sitting here.
yeah.
And it's just I'm constantly my problem is I'm constantly getting new ideas, either just out of my head, or if I see something on Facebook or Instagram or just on the internet. Hell, even if I see something driving by,
Damn,
it's like I get an idea in my head, and it makes it hard to try and stick to one thing because I get to a point and it's like, okay, I got to let that dry or I got to let that sit. I can't just sit and wait for it. I got to, work on something else. So
Yeah.
it's almost kind of a sickness in a way,
Yeah.
but it's funny that you say that, a hobby within a hobby, because yeah, I do know a few people that are like that.
Yeah, and then once you start adding, like, you start expanding your horizons, right? It gets even
Mhm.
more crazier because you're like, oh, I want to do this style, now I want to do this style, and then next thing you're like, oh, I want to do a motorcycle, or I want to, do,
Mhm.
and you have like just so much like in front of you
Oh
that,
yeah.
that you're like, God dang, how am I gonna get through this?
Well, and then going back to what Al said earlier, is there another bill that you want to go back and revisit? I think the other part of that question, the other answer to that question is yes, there is, but because I want to build it in a different style.
Yeah.
So, like for example, we were talking about the Impalas. Pretty much every Impala I've done, 63 to 64, has been a lowrider. So I do want to go back and do one as like a hot rod or a street machine car.
Mm, yeah.
I did you remember the gray and red 62 that I did?
Hmm.
That was a street machine build.
Yeah.
And I think that's also goes with that question, because there's a lot of stuff I want to go back just for the fact of I want to do a different style with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I have a couple of like 67 Impalas, like the
Mm-hmm.
AMT. And the first time that I got my hands on one, it was back when I was in high school. And this had to be probably like, I don't know if it was like 97, 98 the year.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I still have the model, but when I built that model, it was just rattle can and it was just the box stock. Like I just used everything that came with the kit, right? Because I was like, my
Mm-hmm.
challenge, I'm gonna try to use every little part. And I kept the car, but it wasn't really like I like it. I admire it more now. But then
Mm-hmm.
when I went back to do another 67, this one was more like, all right, now this was gonna be a lowrider style.
Mm-hmm.
And I have both of them like together, and I appreciate like the two styles, but when I see the lowrider one, I do see like the kind of work that was put into that one to
Right.
especially like how like in the hood of that one it comes with the chrome piece that goes on the
Yep.
hood, and I
Yep.
had to like fill that in and sand it smooth and get it flatten it out just so I don't get to use that like chrome piece that goes on the hood. and and just having to like lower it and do other things to it that I go, damn,
Right.
like, but then again it's like I wish I could have done that with like even like a 64 Impala.
Mhm.
Like traditionally, oh, I'm gonna always do it lowrider, but it'd be kind of cool to do it a different style
Yeah,
too.
and that's the thing too, is if you not only you do one in a one style, but not only do you get comfortable with that, but then people get used to seeing that, oh, it's another Impala done in a lowrider style.
Hmm.
Whereas if you switch it up and do something like a street machine or something, okay, let's say Chaz's 64 that he did, that he put a 2JZ motor in. Okay, a few years ago, but something like that, you do something different that people don't expect, and it stands out. So like for example, with the Harley Quinn truck, I mean, nobody would have expected that with an F100.
Yeah, nah,
So
it's always like a solid paint job, like either all black or
mhm.
it's kind of like what you're expecting to see with something like
Right.
that all the time. Um, I wanted to bring something up because I've noticed it's making a lot of noise right now, especially out in Australia.
Hmm.
And I want to know if you've seen, um, you know, like uh, like Lazy Modeler out in Australia that does the masks, the flame
Hmm.
masks.
Yeah.
He's been promoting and like even like Slowly Models, all these guys. They came out with the DDA, the model kits,
Yes, I have seen.
and like watch one of them. I have a photo in front of me. I'm gonna read it out. The Holden, I think it's the Kingswood four door, and
Hmm.
I mean there's what like four different versions or three.
Something like that.
Yeah, but it's like, what's your opinion when you saw it? Like, it's like something new. I mean, people out here are trying to get their hands on this.
Yeah, and it's because it's never been done, let alone I think in general, but in the States here, something that nobody has, something that nobody's seen. So it's a cool subject matter that, especially over there. I think those are the cars that they like to put in the real big motors, and you know, was it the summer nationals they have over there, the 1-to-1 show where they put those big motors in those cars and do crazy burnouts and stuff like that. It's a cool subject matter. And I mean, I want to get one. I've seen them and it caught my eye, and it's like, okay, that could be something kind of cool, different, unique,
Yeah.
so it's cool that they're coming out with that stuff, because like I said, I don't think it's ever been done before. And
Yeah,
black.
no, and that was the thing. Like, I was talking to Casey about it. Like, yo, what's up with these cars? Because I keep seeing them. They're being promoted out there, and everyone's like, yo, like, I want to get one. And Lazy Mauler's selling them, so it's like people
Mhm.
are copying them, and it's dope because I could already see it's exciting when you see a new subject matter, especially when you start seeing it now being created and at tables, and eventually, like, first, you work with what you have in front of you, right, with the kit, and then you add your flair to it. But then
Right.
eventually what's going to happen once people start adding 3D parts to it, and then, oh, let's wide body this thing, or let's do this, or let's do that. And I was even
Exactly.
telling Casey, it kind of gives me like a old school, like you could go Bozuzoku, like Japanese style, like the old school, like the Ken Mary,
Yeah,
or even like a
exactly.
skyline, like a 70s like kind of style, like the
Hmm.
shape of the body. I don't know. I was just like, dude, like these look pretty cool, pretty rad.
Yeah, it opens the door for so much potential with them. And like I said, I've got ideas in my head that I've come up with already after just seeing photos of them and stuff. And so hopefully I can get my hands on one of them and maybe kind of add my own little touch to it. But it's cool to see that stuff coming out, man. I mean, that's what we need right now, is just kind of some of this new stuff coming out that nobody's ever seen before, or that's not as popular over here in the States.
Yeah, nah, yeah. I feel like, obviously, like Instagram is gonna be like, or even Facebook will be those first stages where you start to see the models being built, because
Mm-hmm.
it feels like, whoever's there first. Like, I just saw, like, earlier, Casey just posted he got his hands on
Mm-hmm.
his copy, and I'm sure everyone else is waiting on their copy to get it in the mail. And it's one of those things, the excitement of, like, let's do the mock-up on this, you
Oh
know,
yeah.
checking
Yep.
everything out. And then, it's almost like for some people it might be the race, like who's going to be the first to actually, like, get it done and get it, like posted, and,
Yep.
and then later it's going to become accessible, like, um coming to the States. Like, now I just feel like, obviously the global market, like, everything is being more accessible. You're able to get parts, you're able to get this from different regions
Exactly.
of the world. And now it's like we all have contacts and friends in different parts of the world, that if they're like, hey, if you can't get it over there, don't worry, I could get it here, and then I'll send it to you. you
Mm-hmm.
know so that's always like a neat thing right there. But I do see, like, a lot of promise, a lot of future within those cars that are going to be
Oh
coming
yeah.
out from out there.
Yeah, definitely. And kind of like what you're saying too. One of the ideas I had was kind of like the Ken Mary style Liberty Walk stuff, because it just, for me, it lends itself, that, like you said, that body style to do that. And but then again too, I also lean to the other side of putting a big motor in it like they do over there in Australia. So
Yeah,
it's cool, man. I mean, hopefully, like I said, hopefully I'll be able to get my hands on one, but we'll see.
yeah, I could already, I was telling Casey, I could already imagine, like, Cam Kiwi Hobbies
Yep.
getting his hands on one and putting a huge engine on there.
Mm-hmm. And I was just like, well, he just did that with one of the latest ones he did. I forgot what it was. It was a small compact car, and he put a big ass motor in it. You know, but that's his style, though, man. That's his flair.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, and it's cool to see that because you know he's going against the grain of what a lot of people would do to most of those cars. You know, they call it blasphemy, and no, I call it's model building. Do whatever you want. You know, so it's cool to see that, man. It's really cool to see that.
Yeah, man. I mean, I want to see some posts soon. I have a feeling within the coming months we'll start seeing some posts with those cars from out
Oh
there.
yeah,
And I mean, it must be exciting because I mean, those are cars that they must have seen at some point. I know, like for us, you know, we get to see like cars that were made in America, and like we see these kits all the time that it's almost like we take it for granted. We're just like, oh yeah, there's another kit, right? Released.
right, right.
But like to be able to be like, dude, like they're gonna bust out that car or like what? Like
Mm-hmm.
that must be pretty cool.
Yeah, and like you were saying, it kind of gets the creative mind going because you've never seen something like that before, and it's like, ooh, what can I do to it, or what like how can I add my flair to it, you know? And it makes for a really interesting subject piece, you know, and that's what I like because I like the more unique, kind of obscure, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah. And as far as like kits, you know, that you have like in your collection, has there ever been like a kit that you know you've started it and then you had to put away because maybe that spark or just you know the idea that you had for it just kind of went away because you're focusing now on something else, but going back and every time you're sorting through your stuff and you revisit it, like you open it,
Mm-hmm.
do you ever feel like, man, I should just get rid of this kit because I'm not even gonna like this is like a dead project, let's say. Or do you go, no, I'm gonna hang on to it because there might be some, you know, I might finish it down the road at some point.
Oh, which one do you want me to point to on the back wall over here? No, I'm just kidding.
Dang.
Yeah, I've run across both situations. I have, man, I have a couple builds that have been brought out, put back, brought out, put back, and it's like, am I ever gonna finish this? Do I want to finish this? I think the longest one I have right now is an S10 model that some people have been trying to get off of me because they're asking if I'll ever finish it, but it's been almost 15 years, I want to say. And it's been off and on, put back and forth in the box. I take it out, look at it, change the wheel ideas, mock up on it. And it's like, I don't know. You know, it's just, I have the interest in it, but then I don't. I have a couple other builds that it's like, yeah, and I've actually ended up selling because of that reason. I was like, no, you know what? It's time to move on. I don't have the idea, or the idea that I had doesn't make sense to me anymore, or it doesn't flow with what I originally wanted to do with it. So I've sold a couple projects in the past for that reason, but you know, we all have, I think I have about 3 or 4 builds like that, you know, that are just sitting there waiting. And a couple people know that have been to the house that I've shown a few of them. They're asking me, when are you going to bust out that certain one or this one? It's like, no, the world ain't ready for that yet.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know?
yeah, it's a trip because I've talked to Cam about this, and you know how like once in a while Cam will post like, you know, either he's selling a car or he's selling like various collection pieces of like
Mm-hmm.
wheels and different parts, right?
Yep.
And we've had a conversation about that regarding like, you know, when is it time to let go of stuff, you know? And I was expressing to him, you know, that there has been certain builds that I had started some years back because my focus was on that, but now it's kind of like it's changed. Now I'm into something else.
Mm-hmm.
And even like when I look at the build, like I do remember, you know, where I was at that point, but then I just, I don't know, part of me is kind of like, I don't know if I even have the energy to just continue it to really like do it justice where the idea I had originally. So I feel like this kit's done for me. Like it's time for me to just like move on from it, like sell it or trade it or whatever, just
Right.
because every time I have it, like let's just say in my closet with all my other builds, every time I see it, I'm just thinking about it. And it's almost like dang, like that's that one that I never got to finish. And it's just time to let go. And he was telling me his perspective, and I was like, yeah, you're right, dude. Like, cause I was, like kind of like, is it hard for you to get like let go of stuff? And and for him, I feel like he's I mean, he's an artist, but he's also like enjoying what he does. He's
Yeah.
getting in a new subject. He's doing the ideas he has in his mind, he's executing them. And then it's
Mhm.
like it's time to go on to the next and to the next. And it's a constant learning to the point where he goes, you know what? I think I'm just gonna sell it because I know somebody else is gonna enjoy this. And
Right.
and, it, and it's like selling like your art pieces at that point.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I actually have a couple of cam stuff too.
Man, that's
as a
dope.
matter as a matter of fact. But yeah, I totally get what he's saying. I mean, and it's cool because he's into so much different, you know, hobby aspects. So he's into the cars, he's into the figure painting, he's into, the I forget what that style is. With all like the machinery type stuff, apocalyptic stuff, whatever you want to call it. But I think that that's what makes it cool and makes it easier to, okay, it's time to like start. Let's move this stuff on. That way we can start fresh with this stuff. Um, I kind of do the same way. Every now and then you'll see me, divert from cars and I'll go to military stuff or I'll go to figures or whatever. I just don't do it as much as the car stuff, but it kind of helps break up the monotony of that and makes it easier to do, everything that we do, I think. So,
Yeah, man, that's dope. I wanted to ask you, what are your future plans for this year? I mean, I know I wanted to actually plug in the show that's coming up for May 7th, the SoCal
mm,
Open. Are you
mhm.
planning and are you going to be out here for that?
Ooh, okay. So that was a tough one, man, when I heard the dates for that show, because actually, unfortunately, I won't be. I'm actually going to be in Salt Lake City for the GSL,
Yeah.
which I know Art. That's the reason Art turned it over to Dedicated this year, because I know he's going to be out there for that. But Al and a couple of the other guys from MCBA, we talked about it, and I think we're going to try to head up there. And for the last, I've never been to GSL before,
Mhm.
and when I heard it was the last one, I'm like, no, I got to at least try to make it to it one time in my
You want,
life.
yeah.
So, and yeah, and it sucks because I wish I could make SoCal. I haven't been to that show since 2011, I think it was.
Yeah.
Way before Art, I think even before Art took it over. But
Dang.
and it's a cool one, man, because I like how it's kind of been revamped and everything. And I wish I could, but unfortunately that weekend, yeah, that's going to be taken up with Salt Lake, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's crazy how it's lined up though, like in that date, because the SoCal Open is lined up with a 101 scale car show that they
Right.
do annually, and it just happened to be chosen on that date, and then out there they're doing that show too, but over there
Hmm.
it's more days. It's like what, a Thursday to like a Sunday.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, it's 4 days. You can enter all the way up until I think either Friday night or Saturday morning. I'm not
Yeah,
quite sure. Um, but yeah, it's a major show. Apparently, if you take fourth place, I guess they go all the way down to fourth place. If you take fourth, it's an honor. So
yeah,
I've
dang.
I've I've heard it's very critically judged, and they go
Mhm.
down to the real fine stuff. So I'm also curious to see how my stuff would do out there. I
Yeah.
mean, because I've done quite a bit of shows, as you know, all over the country, and not any one show is the same when it comes to judging. So
Yeah.
it's gonna be cool. I mean, I think it'll be a good time. like I said, I'm not quite sure what to expect. But at least just to see the amount of talent that's going to be out there, the amount of artists and builders that come to that show. I mean, there's going to be stuff there that I've only seen pictures of, and I can only imagine what it looks like in person. You
Yeah,
know?
I wonder. My question would be to them is like, why are they ending it now? Like, why is it ending?
Yeah, that's the one thing I'm curious about myself, because I think this is going to be like the 31st or 32nd show they've had.
Yeah.
And it used to be every 2 years, because it was actually supposed to be done in was it 2021 or 22, something like that. And because of all the pandemic stuff and whatnot, they decided to push it back to this year.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm not quite sure. I mean, I always thought it was a strong running show, but
Hmm.
as with anything nowadays, it's getting harder and harder to keep stuff going. It seems like, even if you have a lot of members or whatever. So
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy because, I feel like almost like it's no different from a business. Like you have businesses that last, let's say, 20 years, 25 years. If they make it to 30 years, right?
mm-hmm.
And then it's like they're done. Like that's it, right? And it's almost like there wasn't any planning to pass the torch on to somebody else.
Yeah,
And I mean,
exactly.
I really, we really at this point we don't know the reason of why it's ending, but I hope that, I hope it's not because, everyone who's like, let's say doing the judge, organizing is basically like, I'm done. I want to retire from this. I don't want to do this no more. It would be cool
Right.
if they had like, some kind of, obviously like guidelines and things that they could school the next generation to, take the torch.
Oh yeah.
That's really like hardcore about it. That's like, no, like we got this. Like this could keep going on.
Exactly.
I mean, it's tough, like to find that group set of people, but I feel like beforehand, getting those people involved, they see the future where they go, yeah, like we need to keep this going on.
Yeah, and that's what I think. I mean, I would hope, there's more people like that want to take over. But I also know too, it's a lot of work to one, take over a show, and let alone keep it going, because
I know.
the cost of venues, the cost of
Mhm.
awards, all that stuff. I mean, I know there's a lot that goes into it, and I know a lot of people that put their own money up for it. If
Yeah, I
if they're
was
not part of the club.
I was tripping out when I was interviewing Roy,
Mm,
speaking about NNL West, and he was just, breaking down some history from back then of his involvement and, being part of it and everything, but to the point where it's like they have to front the money for the venue
mm-hmm.
and all this stuff, right? And it's almost like, all right, you put it all there on the line, and you have to be patient
Oh
to
yeah.
to get that back, and then to pre-plan for the following year and so forth. So I mean, I could see that also wearing out on someone,
Oh
um
yeah, definitely.
as
Definitely.
well. But then damn, this is 4 days, and obviously this is like a big deal, from what I've heard. It's like some people say like, yo, this is like the Super Bowl of model shows.
Yeah, in a sense. In a sense. I've heard the
And
same thing, because I mean, if you look at some of the past winners of the that won the best of show there, you're talking guys that have 10, 12, 13, if not longer years in one build.
yeah,
And I mean, you're talking, you put the key in a damn thing and it'll actually start up. I mean, that's how crazy some of the stuff gets.
damn,
So that's the thing. Is just it brings. It's been the number, like one of the biggest shows in the country for the longest time, but
mhm,
like you said, at 4 days, let alone one or two, the
yeah,
cost for that and everything else, who knows? I mean, it's a number. It could be a number of factors, but
yeah,
either way, it'll be cool to at least get to experience it once.
yeah, yeah. Just be there, obviously, bring your builds, and then but be a spectator too and observe
Exactly.
like everything, I wonder how it's going to be like the last day, like when it ends, like, if some people are going to be a bit emotional that have been running it, or that
Right.
attend every year, that they've been like, this is almost like a tradition to them.
Right.
And it's just like, it's done.
Yeah, it's
um
who knows, man. I'll like I said, we may have to do a post or a podcast after that for
yeah,
how
that'll be,
that was,
yeah, man. I
because
hope you get footage too and
oh
stuff.
yeah, for sure.
See.
I'll take a bunch of stuff, but that's one of the shows coming up. There's also quite a few more this year that I got in the works. So
Yeah.
um hate to say it, but I think this year might be one of the last years for a while that I'm doing as many shows as I'm doing.
Yeah.
I might kind of be slowing down next year just for a few reasons, but
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
I mean,
it takes a toll, man. I mean,
oh, for
people
sure.
they're like, man, you go here, you go there, this and that. Yeah, but the cost and the
Mhm.
it just takes a toll on you after a while,
The
you know.
flying and just waiting and all this
Mm-hmm.
stuff. Yeah, dude. I it does for sure. And I mean, if anything, I mean, it's good to take that break, because you also need to hit that refresh button. You have to just
Exactly.
kind of just show in your area and everything, and then finally, when you decide to come back, you're gonna have that excitement again of, like, doing the flights and going everywhere, traveling.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
because yeah, dude, it definitely wears you out. You get tired out for sure, like doing all this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy it. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's just, I enjoy going, seeing everybody and, hanging out because hell, I mean, I only get to see most of y'all except for once a year. So,
Yeah,
there's a lot that happens in that time frame.
yeah,
But,
yeah.
I narrowed it down next year to probably about two or three major shows for the year. One
Uh-huh.
of one of those being Grand National next year, but because there's a lot of, like I said, there's a lot of smaller shows in between, like these major ones that I do that I either drive to or can go to within a weekend. But at the same time, though, man, it's the same concept. I mean, you're taking away, a good majority of your time, your weekend, and
Yeah.
like I said, it's just me and my wife. But at the same time, I mean, we want to go out and do a few things too, and not just all about.
Yeah. Yeah, because
So
like, maybe those plans you guys have might land in a week, has always landed like when you're going to a show, that you're
mhm.
like, all right, maybe it's that time that we don't do that because we gotta like do our own thing.
Exactly, and that's kind of funny because at the beginning of the year, she always asks me, she's like, "All right, so when are your show dates for this year, so I can mark them down and we can plan around all that?" And it's like,
Yeah. Oh, dang.
well, but I mean, and like I've said before, she's very supportive of what I do
Mhm.
and everything else. But at the same time, it's like, okay, maybe I should kind of cut back a little bit, and maybe we can start doing a few more traveling of our own that's not model hobby related. So, but but yeah, as far as this year goes, there's a few other big shows and a few other small shows. I mean, hell, I'll be at a show next weekend. So, it's crazy, man, but yeah, it's still fun. I still enjoy it, whether it takes a toll on me or not. So,
No, yeah. And yeah, because that show's coming up for us out here.
mhm.
Unfortunately, I won't be able to go to the GSL, but I know that at least through Spirit, through you guys, be there for sure. I'll be checking that out.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, I'll be over here. It's not too far from the house, so I'll be checking that out, and I'm just excited to see like what people bring out to the
Right.
tables and whatnot. Um, and as far as like from that show, there's still like a couple more shows I'm planning on doing for the year, and that's gonna be it for myself.
Hmm.
So definitely SoCal Open. Then there's the Orange Con that's going
Oh
on,
yeah, yeah,
and then there's also the show that goes on at the NHRA Museum in November.
yeah.
Um,
Was it Spirit of Speed show,
yeah, that's the
something like that?
one. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep. Yeah.
that's one that I've kind of kicked around going to, just because to me it's always looked like a cool show, but it's the factor of kind of weighing it out, because is it worth spending all the money for going out there and
Mm.
turning around and coming back. But that's one that's been on my radar too, maybe just to hit it at least once,
Yeah.
and plus, California is usually nice around that time of year, so it's not as cold as it has been as it is here in November. So
Yeah. Yeah. No, yeah, dude. And yeah, those are gonna be like those few, and then just kind of chilled. It's a trip because in the past I've kind of said, oh, I'm only gonna do like one or two shows, or but
mhm.
but I now, just getting that feel of being a part of these shows and vending and like talking with people, and then just seeing people get excited when they see your setup, or even just what they see on the table. It's kind of cool that I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna try to do this a little more,
Right.
set up, and like just bringing stuff, and try to dial in as to like what is it that people want.
Right.
That's always kind of the challenge, but it's been cool though, like no pressure. Like I just feel like, like I'm here and it's cool, no expectations, nothing crazy.
Well,
Like I
and
just want to have fun.
right, and I think it's cool too that you're getting out to more of these shows now. People are getting to see you in person, getting to know the Scale Riders brand more, than what just online, because they're getting to
Yeah.
talk with you. And like you were just at
It
was
was
it
at the
Model
Model
Fest?
Fest. Yeah,
Yeah,
out in
and then
Ventura.
yeah, because I used to go to that one too when I lived in Cali, and it's a smaller show, but I mean it was always cool to see the vendors and stuff, and just a lot of people that don't go to these other big shows that you get to talk with, and it's always a cool time seeing set up at small shows like that, and it's
Yeah.
cool to see you getting out, like I said, getting the Scale Riders out more than just online too. So
Yeah. No, yeah, because it was like important for me. Even had that conversation, with my family, with my fiance, as far as like getting that
mhm.
support, being able to like get days off of work from my day job, and then also planning out like what shows I'm gonna do. So this way, I could, because normally the days that the shows are on, that's like the time when I'm with my family.
Yep,
So
yep,
I had to plan out, like, it's not like these shows are constant or they're back to back, but I do want to be there. You know,
mhm.
I want to come out, and they know, if especially if I have this idea, this plan of like I want it to grow, I want the brand to grow and everything. I have to like be able to, be out there and do these things too, because
Oh
I
yeah,
I feel like it's challenging if I just keep myself online, and I'm just like not there, or no one knows like who the person is behind,
right.
the curtain or whatever. It's kind of like, all right, what's
Yeah,
going on here?
exactly. I mean, get your face out there,
Yeah,
converse with people and stuff, and it makes for a good better business venture, I guess.
yeah, nah,
But
definitely. Yeah, dude, and before we wrap up this episode, because I know it's late on your end, dude, and I want to thank you too. I want to thank you for taking the time to be on
oh
the
no,
on
no
the
problem.
podcast, man, because it's dang, you're what, 2 hours ahead, right? From me.
Yeah, it's about 1:40 out here in the morning. So,
Yeah.
but as we talked about before, I went to bed at 5 this afternoon and got about 6 hours of sleep. So I'm good, because a lot of my coworkers are like, "You're doing what at midnight?"
Yeah.
Because I basically, let's see, it's 1:40, so about 2 hours or so I'm going to be heading to work. So
Dang.
it's all good. So
Dude, I still remember, like with my friends, being out in Oxnard, and we're like, yo, let's go to a show in LA. and,
mhm.
and these shows will start like at 10 p.m. and we'd go see like some performances, some DJs and stuff, and we'd stay there till the show would end at like 2 a.m. So after 2 a.m. we'd go get food, whatever was open, right? Fast
Right.
food, whatever, and and we would be talking and kicking it. That was a whole another hour. By the time
Mm-hmm.
we're leaving LA, all right, let's go back to Oxnard. That's another hour. And we'd be going, and now it's like 4 in the morning. We're barely getting into town. And I remember one time my homie's like, you know what, dude? Just we were pulling into like Camarillo before you get to Oxnard. He's like,
Right.
just exit right here. Just drop me off at my work. And we're like, are you for real? He's like, yeah, just drop me off. He's like, people are because the people are there are work that place, they're working like 24/7, like
Right.
different shifts. And he's like, what's the point of me going home? Because I'm gonna have to come back anyway. And we were like, well,
Right.
how are you gonna get a ride? He's like, nah, trust me, I'll get a ride home from someone at work. Like, it's not a big
Right.
deal. He's like, I'm gonna have to go in within the hour or whatever. So we were
That's
like,
crazy,
dude,
man.
you're crazy. So we dropped him off
Yeah,
and we took
it
off.
it's funny, man. I mean, it's a like I said, I'll be going in a couple hours here, but it's no big deal for me because it's going into a Friday too. So,
Yeah.
and it's pretty laid back. But yeah, I remember doing that too. When I used to build over at Anthony's house, man. You get there at like 5, 6 in the afternoon, in the evening, build there, chop it up, whatever, go grab a bite. Next thing you know, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. It's like,
Yeah.
holy crap, man, where'd the time go?
Yeah, yeah. And even when it's that late, you still chop it up even more and time goes even more.
Exactly. We have I've been in St. Louis now for 11 years now, and they have this thing called the Midwest goodbye, where you say goodbye and then an hour and a half later you're still talking. So
Yeah, yeah.
it's kind of funny,
All right.
but yeah, no, it's been fun, man. I mean, like I said, I always enjoy doing the podcast and stuff, and it don't matter. I make it work either way.
All right, on, man. That's cool. Do you want to give any shout outs before we go?
Uh, well, just shout out to everybody out there in the model community, man. Just keep doing your thing, guys, and I'll run into a few of y'all at a couple shows coming up here soon. Like I said, I'll be in Texas at the end of the month, so shout out to you guys out there because I'll see a few of y'all here soon. But yeah, and then just shout out to you, Edgar. Again, I appreciate everything, man, and this was fun. I always enjoy doing this. So
Right on, man. No, well, thank you, Wes. And thanks for coming on. And also the shout outs to everybody that's been tuned in throughout the podcast,
yeah,
you know,
definitely
checking this out. And, you know,
appreciate everybody there.
and I'll link Wes's Instagram onto this post once the episode's on. But if you guys want to check him out also, it's at Wes_S_scale builds. So make sure
Yes,
you
sir.
check them out on there. So this is 65 Lokes signing off, episode number 206 with my guest, Wes Salazar. All right, man. I hope you have a
All
good
right.
night, and everyone else have a good night as well. Peace
Yep.
out.
You too. Later, guys. Peace.
Thank you. Later. Bye.